please. Fine. If you say so. Hold on. Soon they could hear Lotus on the other side of the door. Then the grunting ceased and they could hear light panting as if from exertion. It's no use. They won't budge. You've got more people in there. You figure it out. Oh my god. What a frickin' cow. God damn it. Santa was shaking like a newborn deer. June was hugging herself and was shivering violently. Even Junpei, with the heaviest clothes of any of them, was clearly feeling the cold. With every breath they took, they could feel the cold working its way deeper and deeper into their bodies. Anyway, let's find a way out. If we don't get moving, we're gonna be permanent residents. Two heads are better than none. I'm sure we'll figure something out. Yeah, you're right. Let's just take a good look around this room, okay? Right. They pushed in close to one another and began to search. This thing's frozen solid. This pork? Yeah, seems like it. What's this thing? It looks like a tag or something. What I get? A chunk of pork with a tag in it. Jumpy, is there a slip of paper in that meat? I think there's something written on here, but I can't read it like this. If you try and pull it out, it'll probably rip. You need to defrost that. Don't think we're going to be doing that in this room. I guess we've got to do it in the oven once we get the code. Damn it. Once we get the code for it, we can put it in the oven. Everything's frozen in here. It doesn't look like there's anything else interesting. Well, that looks interesting. No, okay. Alright. Freezer in a freezer. Dry ice. Dry ice? Can you make that stuff cause an explosion if you seal it in something that's airtight? Explode? Yeah, didn't you do that in school? You should never underestimate the power of expanding gas. How is everyone in here like some kind of really knowledgeable about science? Like, you got the girl who's all knowledgeable about, I don't know, the supernatural, one who's all about experiments, this guy who's all about expanding gas. It's like, I know bits about things, but not to this level. And no, I didn't do that in school. Junpei picked up the dry ice with his sleeve so as to avoid burning himself. Dry ice is just frozen carbon dioxide. Actually, I do recall something on an episode of Archer where he had dry ice and he mixed it with water, and then he threw it in the air or something and it exploded. Yeah, it is. I wonder how warm it has to get for it to turn back into gas again. Hell if I know. How's that gonna help us anyway? Oh, well, I figured out we might be able to use it to get out of here. They were about to move on when June spoke up. Carbon dioxide's sublimation point is minus 109 degrees. Oh, see, what the hell? Any warm that and it'll turn into gas. Any lower it and it becomes a solid. Junpei looked at her, dumbfounded. How do you know that? Tee hee hee. Despite my looks, I'm the the queen of random knowledge. Oh, I can't stand people who call themselves random as well. She's really starting to annoy me. Looks bad to mess up when you're showing off. Argon with mumble. Oh, you're so cold your mouth's going numb? Yarf. What's white? You're just doing that on purpose, aren't you? June giggled and did her best to hide her guilt. At least she was still feeling good enough to joke around, Junpei told himself. Come on guys, don't you think that's kinda weird? I wonder why it doesn't turn into a liquid first. Santa was now shivering at an astounding rate, but his curiosity seemed unaffected. Junpei, however, was not in a mood to discuss science. He went out the freezer. Did strike Junpei as rather odd. Yeah, it is kind of weird. It did seem rather odd to Junpei, and he couldn't help but think about it. June answered. But it can turn into a liquid. Carbon dioxide turns into a liquid if you put it under high enough pressure. But at 1 atmosphere, normal air pressure, it won't turn into a liquid, right? That's right. Instead of melting, it'll do what's called sublimating, and change immediately from a solid state to a gaseous one. See, that is weird. Water is a liquid between 32 degrees and 212 degrees. So why isn't that the case for carbon dioxide? June replied with an answer that stunned both of them. There's a kind of ice that doesn't turn into liquid when it goes above 32 degrees. Huh? That dry ice? I heard about it. Its melting point is 96 degrees. Ice with a melting point of 96 degrees? You mean there's water that freezes at 96 degrees? Is it an iceberg? Yeah, well, you could also look at it as ice that won't melt until it's 96 degrees. Water that freezes at 96 degrees? How many times am I going to say that? Ice that won't melt until it's 96 degrees? Junpei was cold as hell, but this was too interesting to ignore. He did his best to warm up by rubbing his arms and stamping his feet, then put out the question to June. So what's this ice with a melting point 96 degrees called? I'm gonna say iceberg. I heard it's called Ice 9. Okay, I was wrong. Ice 9. Oh, music starting. Here we go. We gotta take notice here. Originally, Ice 9 was made up of substance invented by a science fiction author. But recently, scientists have discovered that such a substance actually exists. Wait, hold up. So is this thing called Ice 9, or is it water? Like I said, if the ice is over 96 degrees, it'll be liquid. If it's under that, it'll solidify. So you could think of it as a polymorph of H2O. Here, think of it like diamonds and graphite. They're both made of carbon, right? But depending on the structure of the crystallization, the hardness and the structure are completely different. So you're saying normal water and this Ice 9 are like that? Yep. She wasn't finished. Have you heard the story about the crystallization of glycerin? For 150 years after the discovery of glycerin, people cooled it, warmed it, and did all sorts of things to it. But whatever they did, it never crystallized. However, one day in 1920, some glycerin that was en route to England by ship was discovered to have crystallized during the trip. Naturally, scientists worldwide wanted to research this new crystallized form of glycerin and began asking for samples of the seed. A seed is, of course, a sample of the original crystallized substance. With a seed crystal, further crystallization of glycerin would be a simple matter. However, something very strange happened. Not only did the glycerin encouraged by seed crystals begin to crystallize, nearby samples did as well. It didn't end there. After that day, all glycerin in the world began to crystallize naturally when cooled to less than 64 degrees. Before that day, no matter how much glycerin was cooled, it refused to crystallize. But once the crystallization had begun, it was almost like, how do I put it? It was almost like all the glycerin in the world was communicating in some way that we can't sense. Junpei was honestly gonna put it. I'm sort of between these two at the moment. I'm thinking, I'm kind of impressed that she knows all this stuff, and it's quite impressive the way science works. Not sure if this is true or not, but I'm just gonna roll with it. And I'm kind of annoyed that she knows all this stuff and I don't. I'm impressed. Go on, I'm impressed. Was honestly impressed. It was, in fact, a pretty interesting story. Wow, that's pretty interesting. But, what does that have to do with Ice 9? To his surprise, it was Santa, not June, who answered. What she's saying is that it's a lot like Ice 9. What happened, I mean. A lot like... that would be bad. If water everywhere started freezing at 96 degrees, man, it'd be the end of the world. Junpei felt that Santa might not be treating the idea of the end of the world with proper concern. At any rate, we're not going to have to worry about the end of the world unless we can get out of here pretty damn quick. He was right. Junpei shivered. Alright guys, I think that's enough of that. I don't think we get quite this far off topic. I mean, I know I'm kinda at fault here, but we can't be screwing around anymore. Seriously. I might go by the name Santa right now, but I didn't grow up in Iceland. I freaking hate the cold. So, let's get cracking, alright? We gotta find a way out of here. Santa stomped off, clearly doing his best to pretend the cold wasn't affecting him.